Very good morning to you all. Oh, it's nice to be back. Tom Roberts, good to have you back as well.
Good morning, Rich. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good. 23rd of April. Where's that gone?
Flown by. Flown by.
Serious.
Trump has helped us that things have been busy, therefore it has flown by.
Yeah.
April's been a busy old month.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's right. All you guys on the chat seeing my tan, isn't it? Look at that. Carl Anderson, don't start the day like that. Vodafone cut to underweight at JP Morgan, 62 pence. What kind of welcome back is that?
That's not very nice.
5 days.
Not a very nice Wednesday morning.
Carl's decided, right, where can I hit him most, where it hurts? And look, he's waited until 10 seconds after we've come on air. Carl, out, gone. Right, good morning to you all. How are you doing? Julian, good morning. Parky, good morning. Wacka Wacka. Jesse 14 in. Frosty, great opportunity to short the market, he's saying. I don't disagree, actually. I think we've had a lot of froth over the past 24 hours, which we'll take a look at. And, you know, not much actual action.
No. And
that's the theme of the morning, I think.
A lot of just read across from America. I was looking at the FTSE yesterday, up a good 100 points. This morning we're at 7:30, Rich. FTSE's been called up another 103 points. We're at 84.30. I was just talking to Pete Ward on the desk and various others.
Oh, he's in, is he? Good.
He is.
Good. He's taking me to lunch.
You know, 84.30.
Yeah, let's have a
really
quick look
big
at those
comeback on that.
futures.
If you look at the FTSE chart, it's 2 days straight line on, I'd say, the back of, you know, obviously what the US have been saying, but going back to your comment about froth, not a huge amount of substance to what reality is at the moment.
I guess, you know, look, well, let's take a look at what's coming up on today's show first. And then we can get into the meat of what on earth is going on. So myself and Mr. Roberts here through with you till 8:30. Then Angeline is with Isar. Ange and I are looking at the all sessions, which will be interesting with the S&P now up 1.7%. We're going to take a look back at the bonds interview with Reza, and then Ange has Assam back for IG experiences at 9:45. So yeah, let's go straight into overnight action, because there's a lot to talk about, and as I say, working out what's real and what's not. There's also a bit of fake news out there. So let's go into overnight action and go through it all. Right, so we've got Besant, who has decided to drop market-moving information in a closed-door JP Morgan investor meeting. You can't do that.
Correct.
A closed-door meeting with no press in it. And thankfully, Bloomberg had a source inside that managed to get his comment out. But do you put much credence behind his comment? I think it's been misquoted a little bit.
I think, yeah, I mean, the rally was fueled by what he said about the indicated the China tariff standoff. But
what did he actually say? That's the thing. Because
he said it's unsustainable, didn't he? Was the quote.
He says it's unsustainable. That is true.
And that Trump basically is softening his rhetoric on China. So what they're going to be saying, how they're going to be doing it, it will soften overall, and that's what fueled the rally. But
he also said that they're not talking at this moment. So he said that it's only escalated until now. The next step will most likely be de-escalation.
Well, he said, in quotes, will not be anywhere near the levels of tariffs where they're indicated at the moment, 145% or whatever it is.
Shit, Sherlock, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the world comes to an end. So it's like, you know, saying that the tariffs aren't going to be 145. Now Trump did back that up later on and said that they won't be sustained at these levels, but they won't be zero. So,
but coming back to your point about he's done this in a closed environment, this is from a government that 2 weeks ago, Trump was tweeting going, everything's going to be okay, DJT. I mean, it's slight madness of either they're on the inside or everybody else is on the outside. It's sort of one or the other. No one's together on,
You could
on
be
what they're
forgiven to
saying.
think they might have got long on Monday night.
Who knows? Who knows? I can't comment on that speculation.
I'm sure it's not true, but suddenly, either that or the markets rule Trump. The markets absolutely dictate what comes out of his mouth, because we saw the worries about Powell.
Yep.
Next thing he says, oh, I'm not going to fire Powell. I never even considered it.
It's a good point on the markets comment, Rich, because there was a graph going around yesterday that Trump's second term in power now is the worst performance in market history for the last 15 presidents.
Yeah, well,
So they had a graph of all different presidents and what the market had done, and Trump's was averaging down like 16%. Chris Beecham brought up the chart, which I'm sure our viewers will be able to see at some point over the next few days. But he's obviously listening to the markets, and to your point, are the markets then controlling him, saying, you need to soften your rhetoric, you need to come out with some positive statements, etc.
Which is quite a celebration for us all, actually. The fact that markets can dictate his stupidness and his ridiculous, that, you know, to call Powell stupid and to direct him to cut rates. No, the Fed is independent, and the markets are saying it's independent. You are not having any sway on this.
But does it come down to the dollar? He is persuaded, he is influenced by the US dollar. His businesses, his family. He is a money man, and you know he wants good times for all, basically.
Yeah, but he does want the dollar weaker.
No, as in he's controlled personally by a sense of money and by that market's going well.
The dollar.
And that he wants the dollar to do, you know, do what he wants to do. I do think a lot of it is a vanity project for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, got to be careful what I say, but I think it's all.
I'm not sure you do anymore. Freedom of speech and all that.
I mean, he said he has no intention of firing Fed Chairman Powell.
Yeah.
That was a big statement. That's because that was a lot of the speculation, and he has come out and stated in black and white,
yeah,
I've got no intention to do it.
What I do like is that he takes away the Black Swan event. He takes away the absolute worst case scenario every time.
Yep.
Right? China is going to de-escalate. We stop the tariffs on the rest of the world, take that back to 10%. I'm not going to fire Powell. You know, so all the real tail risk on this market has been taken out every time the market's pushed back against him. So for that reason, then you're pretty confident you stay above 5,000. You know, so selling puts there seems like, because every time we get anywhere close, boom, the positive comments come out. So maybe there is a Trump put.
Maybe. I mean, as you said this morning, everything's very positive on the back of, you know, some statements last night. Some of the corporate results weren't good last night, so
yeah, we'll get onto that in a second. One story that seems to be fake news. Just be careful. There is a social media report that Reuters said that President Trump and Xi will meet in early May. Now, I cannot find that anywhere on Reuters, and it looks like people are taking it as a Reuters headline, but somebody on social media has actually spread that fake news. So there's no meeting as of yet for Trump and Xi to. So
there hasn't been a formal statement saying they're going to meet?
No, absolutely not.
So someone just made it up, basically?
Somebody's made that one up. What there is are China and America are both going to be at the IMF meeting, and China's sending quite a senior delegation. So there's an opportunity for, you know, back channel talks to happen there at a little meeting off the side of the IMF.
I know this is slightly a side point, but I wonder if China is being represented this weekend at the Pope's funeral, because Trump will be there. Now, it may be a senior person within the Chinese government who's gone to represent, and then obviously they may have, you know, an informal meeting there.
Come on. Let's give respect for the big man.
It's weddings and funerals is where things happen.
Talking about funerals, Tesla.
Yes.
I mean, that was a shocking set of numbers, but it doesn't matter because Elon's promised something. Not like Elon to promise something in the future to dark the put the silver lining around a very dark cloud.
I mean, just looking at the numbers for the viewers who may or may not have seen it out there, revenue was down, year-on-year revenue change was down, EPS was down, vehicles delivered, which is an important one, 336,000 plays 366,000, so that's about an 8% miss on that, on the actual physical delivery.
30,000 vehicles short.
Vehicles delivered in Q1, that is a big miss, just for people to look at that sort of number. Operating margin down, gross margin down, and free cash flow margin was up, but they had a quite a big negative, 12% negative last quarter, so it's just a movement from that.
And you're probably, because you know that your sales are dropping, you're probably not building as many new cars, therefore your metrics do look better in that instance.
Correct. And remember, this is a low margin business, so they really have to look at the bottom line here and see where they're going to get their money from. I did read an article by Sean Merrison yesterday that Tesla will be looking also at their energy side of their business, which produces 10% of their gross revenue.
Right.
I haven't delved deep enough into the numbers, but they did say that there's going to be further tariffs that may affect that energy business. So that's also put Musk probably on the back foot a little bit. But share price did very well.
Yeah.
Post-market,
so
very well.
Currently looking up 10% at, or is that, maybe that was including yesterday's move?
So it was something like a 4.8 pre, and then a 5.2, 5.3 post.
Okay.
So you've got 10% there, sorry, 5.39% post it was, but it traded above 250.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Well, I would imagine it will open there because we got the futures up so strong. Let's take a look at some of those other moves yesterday, actually, because there really are some big moves, and of course the all sessions took in the comments from Trump after hours as well. So these are some of moves that you'll see included this morning. GE up 8%.
Yeah.
Palantir up 7, Meta up 7, Amazon, Netflix. Netflix, great numbers on Thursday night as well since I've last seen you. So strong from them. Apple up 6%, Nvidia up 6, Intel up 5.5. Yeah, really strong day.
Did you see the Intel news?
No.
So they announced last night after hours they're set to announce over 20% of staff will be made redundant this week.
Right. Okay. So the reorg really taking effect there.
So staff reduction plans this week have been announced. Looks like a 20% cut, which in any business is huge, but in Intel that's really is huge numbers for people out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few stories going around, but the positivity. I like what the viewer said this morning. Maybe there is a lot of froth out there. Is it time to have a look on the short side of these general macro markets? I mean,
so I'm not outright shorting, but I am short a lot of calls.
Okay.
Because I think very much I put a video out on Monday. Yes, I was recording videos over in Valencia, Maturin. What an area you have there! Absolutely wonderful. Valencia is just stunning place.
Never been, would like to go. Heard a lot about it. Heard the food's good. The weather is clearly good. You're looking great. As always, Rich.
Thank you very much.
But you've been there before, you were saying.
That's right. Yeah. So I lived there. Well, I lived there for a month in 2017, and so know my way around the old town really well.
Yep.
Know my favourite restaurants, but was there to play paddle. So I would consider myself probably the best in Scotland at paddle.
The only person in Scotland.
I'm not sure if it's made it up there, but me and Andy Murray will be doing doubles at the next Olympics.
Were you over for a tournament or what was it?
No, it was just
a bit of fun.
Literally,
Fun.
I've played like 4 times before, and it just seems so much fun. But I was crap, so I had to and there's so much technique to it as well.
Yeah.
Like really getting down, getting your knees bent, getting under the ball, and you sort of push it rather than hitting it and turning the wrist like in tennis. You more push the ball.
I used to play a bit of tennis and thought I was okay. I've played 1 game of paddle against my boys who are 12 and 14.
Right.
And I was awful. Literally awful. I was
Right.
buying the drinks for about a week afterwards. But it's quite a difficult paddle. It's quite hard off the
Yeah.
back of the walls, and it's like squash basically. In
That's
a lot of ways.
it. But I mean, this guy, my teacher, or what do you call it, paddle coach,
Yep.
was called Mark. He was brilliant. He's been playing for like 15 years and shown all the different techniques and the angles.
Yep.
Because of course, because it can bounce off the back wall, there's so much more like squash, a bit more like squash. So yeah, Monkey Man, what is going on this morning? Not one single person. Good to have you back. Oh, actually, there was. Sorry, there was one person. Can someone give Rich a hairbrush? I saw him when I was away as well. I saw him say about Nicola. Oh, it looks like Rich has had a shave for once. That did make me laugh. Good morning away from the numbers, Neil. Good to have you in. So yeah, we're watching now. Gold is not glittering this morning. It's down 2% at this moment in time, which of course makes perfect sense. It had that runaway move on the back of the risk that Powell, it was going to be the end of the world with Powell getting sacked. So that should be it, shouldn't it? 3,500 is the top.
34.80 I saw yesterday. To be fair, I saw a few clients as it started to come off go short 34.50, 34.30.
Me included.
Where are we now? 33.16. So 100-point move from yesterday afternoon.
I actually bought Bitcoin. So I thought, right, Bitcoin hasn't really moved from 87,000. Gold's at 3,500. There's a pair there.
Yep.
And definitely been helped by a risk-on sentiment. But it just makes sense, doesn't it? It's.
Did you trade it as a pair? Did you sell gold and buy Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a little bit of Ethereum as well. Just because it has.
The cryptos are strong this morning, aren't they? On the back of all this, they're all up 2, 3, 4, 5%.
They started to move from the Besant comments yesterday, so about 2:30. So yeah.
Gold's just still on gold. It is an interesting one. Have we seen a high up there near 3,500?
In the medium term.
And if so, in the short term, where does it go down to? Because, are we going back to the 3.2, 3,150? There's some support at 3,100.
Let me show you what I did in the options market. So the options market, I sold a 3,800
Yep.
for 16, and then I bought a 1x2, 33.50 to 3,200.
Yep.
So that's 65 minus 46 minus 16. So that costs 0. All right.
Correct. Yep.
So you got 150 points of downside for no outlay, and your break even is down at 3,050. So I think it's probably got support around 3,150, something like that.
So I said there is support levels there at 3.1.
Yeah.
If you look at the chart, 3.2, it bounced around previously. Bit of support at 3.1. But it's a steep move down the last 24 hours, or even the last 16 hours.
It is. There you see my 007 short there at 33.96. Now, why is it 007, Tom?
Help me out, Rich.
Because Goldfinger, do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
And you're very good at the accent as well. I do like that.
What a movie, though. What a movie Goldfinger was. They don't make them like that anymore.
Far too early for me. I can't believe that. Very good film, though.
Yeah, Jugger in. Why did Tesla not go down 10%? Why has it gone up? It seems to be more a religion than a tech company. Does that make Elon the new Pope? I don't know.
I think some of it was also, and we haven't really mentioned this, Elon said that he may step back from the Doge project.
Yeah,
he may do 1 at most 2 days a week. He may concentrate on his business activities. Now, as Ronnie was saying on the desk, he has got various businesses. So does that just mean Tesla? Does it mean his other businesses? But I think the backlash from people in America, the backlash from shareholders has probably got to a point now where he's gone, okay, let's start to reconcentrate on my own businesses as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we said at the start, it was an aggressive move up, 10.1% move for that, up to 250.
For a bit of hope that he's going to be back.
Yeah, especially on the back of such poor results. And they haven't said they'll return to growth in their earnings reports either. So we'll wait and see.
What time are we on at Team? Well, I can't see a clock. How
10
ironic.
9 minutes to go.
I get your point now, people. I get your point. Producer Fred has stolen our clock. He's taking it with him. So, yeah, there we go. We're going to get that back. But, yeah, I literally can't see the time. 7:51. So let's take a quick look at currencies then, because that's another one that's really interesting. I am short euro in size. I am short sterling. I always think sterling's a little bit of a free hedge because you've got it, right?
Yep.
Your ISAs, your pensions, sterling.
Your income.
And your income. And your money in your IG account is sterling. So therefore, if I'm short sterling, I'm just neutralizing some of it, am I?
Yes. Yep. I mean,
and at 134, I mean, I didn't think I'd ever see it there again.
cable's rebounded. You know, briefly get above 133, and yeah, it has performed well recently. But I think everyone's talking about the dollar. We'll see what goes on. Where are we now? 133.24. So just above the 133 mark. Euro dollar below 114 now.
Yeah. Yen 141.60. So that's another one, right? You're getting such a big differential in rates there. Does that start to go higher again? 141.60.
I mean, it retreated from its sort of high following the Trump's, softer Powell comments, I suppose you can say. But does it go back up above 144? Potentially, absolutely. Yeah.
So dollar was up 60 basis points yesterday. It's higher again today, but against most of the crosses, that was about 1%. Yeah. Right, it's time for the like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, please, on the YouTube. We got 99 people watching right at this moment. Tom Roberts, what is your message for them? Should they subscribe to the channel?
Absolutely, absolutely subscribe, like, follow us, do everything you can.
Love it.
This is what it's all about.
Mr. Social Media here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I need to get better on that. Oil rich, just to say, up quite strong this morning as well.
Yes.
US crude above 64.50, 64.60 traded now, up about 1.5%, give or take. Brent's up as well, 1.5%. It's strengthening on risk on sentiment and positive inventory data, I was told.
And copper, $495. Whoa, those mining and oil. Let's see what the FTSE does this morning, but I fancy. The other stock that's moving big is SAP. SAP in Germany, really good numbers. Much better than expected there. Operating profit beat. So that's why the DAX is so strong.
Now the largest firm in the DAX, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Largest in Europe?
Are they?
Potentially. I'm pulling that out of nowhere. Let's see. Right, we'll be back in 2 minutes for the opening bell. There's going to be some big moves here. Join us in 2. Welcome back to the opening bell. Now, I was thinking when I was across on holiday, how cool would it be to have this segment sponsored by the London Stock Exchange?
Be very good.
LSE, if you're watching, right, buy us a proper bell, and we'll let you sponsor. We'll let you sponsor this section.
We need a new bell, don't we?
We need a new bell. There it is. Now, Tom Roberts, you have some Reckitt's results for me.
Reckitt's, RKT, they're the makers of cleaning products, Dettol, things like that. They missed first quarter like-for-like sales, net sales growth, just not enough sales out there in Europe and North America.
Awful, actually, 1% sales growth.
Company maintained full year outlook, expects like-for-like net sales growth of between 2 and 4%, but only rose 1.1 and just a smaller increase. So disappointing mix there of results. Haven't got an estimate at the moment, Rich. They closed last night 49.50. 2 minutes to go, 49.30, which
right,
is just down slow.
Down 1%.
Okay.
Is that right, Reckitt's. Babcock up 2. So Babcock up 2. Croda up 1. Fresnillo unchanged. And Vodafone downgraded at JP Morgan. What do they know?
Any call
the
on
insiders with their Besant friend?
Any call on BP?
No, I think that was out. Was that out yesterday?
Yeah, but it sort of filtered through this morning. 369 up 3%. It's being called at the moment.
And THG up 2%. Right, Eric Jones across in the US of A asking, do LSE have a trading floor in London? They do, but they only have people on to ring the bell on IPO days, I think.
Correct.
So we could be the official bell ringing of the LSE each day. Somebody put a call in. Do we have a countdown, please? Because we don't have a clock anymore, so I can't see. 30 seconds to the bell. Right. We've also got Sainsbury's cut to hold from buy at Kepler. Sainsbury's have had a decent move. As
Vodafone cut to underweight at JP Morgan, as we heard earlier, at 62p.
God, I've missed ringing the bell. I haven't rung the bell for...
Not long to go.
I think I'll do it like this, actually.
Come on.
Right, we ready? Let's get this market off and running. That's a popper.
We're a £3.5 billion market cap company. We're doing well with our material objects we've got.
Right, Fresnillo down 4.5%. What is going on there? HSBC, the winner of the morning. HSBC up 3.9%. Oh, it annoyed me yesterday when we didn't show the stocks for the first 4 minutes. I was sitting at breakfast watching this show. Oh, HSBC up 4%. Entain up 2.5%. BP up 2.3%. Good call. Tom Roberts.
Fresnillo, you're right, down nearly 5%.
Yeah, that's the big loser. Prudential up 2%. Kingfisher up 1%. Burberry up 2%.
So Fresnillo Q1 silver production down nearly 10% versus Q4.
Right, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Oof. So
first quarter production report. So anyone looking at the silver market, looking at Fresnillo, keep an eye on that. Now down 6.2%, moving down.
right, we've had Standard Charter open up 4.4%, and Glencore. Here they are, the miners. The miners running to the rescue. With copper at $495, we're seeing Glencore back up to $265. Ivan Glassenberg getting himself a bargain.
He's an astute man there at Glencore.
He's bought that very well.
Babcock not uncrossed as yet, if people follow Babcock. Big indicated up 6.5%, Rich, on the back of that FY25 results.
Now, Antofagasta, interesting story coming out yesterday. Elliott, having raised their stake in BP, being short Shell against it, they're also short Antofagasta. Now, this might have something to do, they've got a long position in Anglo-American, but their pair trade is long Anglos, short Antos, up in their face today, up 3% with stronger copper and with risk on in the FTSE. Rio's up 2.8, Burberry up 2.4. So yeah, anything China related basically is China.
And the miners doing well, as you say. I mean, FTSE up 103 points now, 1.2%, driven by the miners. Where are the banks today?
Well, our old friend Lloyd's back up towards 72 3/4.
I'm sure I probably owe you lunch. I can't still remember our bet.
We need to go back. Pull the tape.
I probably do, but veering near 73 pence, Rich. Barclays positive as well this morning. They were down in the dumps a bit earlier this month, but we're trying to recover. Trading nearly 290 now, 289.5. And we're in NatWest. NatWest up 3.2% as well.
Right.
475.
Now, Legals. Legals has been an absolute belter of a performer. Remember, they've got that buyback going on, up 1.4, but that takes them up to 253. Now, 253 is, let's just check a chart there. That's as long as as high as I remember seeing them for a while. Is that a potential breakout there?
Just remind me of the...
Look at that.
Just remind me of the buyback.
Well, they announced the deal to sell their, now what was it? Was it American or Asian business? They
American, yeah.
They sold one of their businesses. But look at how strong this thing has been since bottoming at £2.10 on that Monday, the 7th of April. It is now right back to where it was in June 2024. Now, of course, you've got a nice chunky dividend coming out. Such a big dividend yield there. But yeah, 253, getting back to where that was the crazy day. It was announced they were going to.
I mean, that chart from where was it down at 210? Did you say?
Yeah, this was a 210 drop, up 20% since that in 2 weeks.
Easy money. Should have seen it.
Well, you're talking about easy money.
Should have seen it. Easy money.
Where's our wonderful Vodafone, JP Morgan? What are you doing? Only down 75 basis points. Look at that. What a stock. The biggest bank in town downgrades you to a 62 pence target and boom, you take it in your stride.
I'll say it now, it will finish positive on the day.
Oh, it's a big shout.
It will finish positive on the day.
I must admit, I'd sell you some there.
That makes a market. There you are, Rich.
Now, who do we know that's got the cheapest in price in Vodafone?
Yourself,
It's not myself. No,
Mr. Ward.
it's not Mr. Ward. It is Monkey Man.
Oh,
Monkey Man got in at 63.7 pence.
that's a good buy.
He must have just been
Clever.
sitting there with the button ready.
Boom.
I'm in.
Or using our limit orders capability and just leaving it there.
May well have done that. Yeah.
Well done, him.
So, yeah, Esar now buying them as well. He knows what he's doing. I know you're watching Esar. I saw you mention yesterday.
Babcock uncrossed and trading 784, 786, bit of a spread there, but up nearly 5% on the back of that FY25 numbers.
Right. BP now up 3.8%, 372. That is a really strong performance from them. But the biggest leaders in the day, Standard Chartered, HSBC, Glencore, all with the Asian exposure.
Yeah.
What about Europa? Over in Europa, we are seeing Airbus up 3.7. Seen anything in Airbus? So it's
no.
Strong morning there. BNP Paribas, SocGen, Deutsche Bank. So the European banks are strong there.
Where's SAP?
Up about 2.5. Oh yeah, I haven't seen SAP yet.
Up nearly 10%, Rich.
Is it really? Oh,
238.5, up 9.2%.
wow.
That is a move and a half. It's traded 242 as a high on the open.
Oh, but would you look at that? It's not. So that's the daily chart there. And if we take it back to the start of this year, you saw we peaked in mid-February, as markets did.
Yep.
280, it's dropped back to 220 before today. So yeah, so must be a relief, bit of a relief rally there.
But it's topped estimates on its profits, hasn't it, on its results. But its cloud revenue was disappointing from what I read as well.
Oh, really? Right,
Yeah.
let's take a look at, here we go. So adjusted operating profit reaches 2.5 billion euros compared with expectations of 2.2. Overall, a strong set of results and illustrates the resilience and defensiveness of SAP's earnings trajectory. JP Morgan, right. That's the last time I'm giving JP Morgan any shop window this morning. Me and them have fallen out. JP is my new favourite J Powell. He's the JP. Forget Morgan.
JP.
Right, so yes, so it's SAP the best performer. What's the worst performer in Europe today, Tom Roberts? It is Rheinmetall.
Okay.
Not having the best of mornings.
Why would that be? Let's have a quick look.
It's just very volatile, isn't it? Oh, mind you, EDF haven't opened yet.
Yeah.
EDF on call, currently trading 12 euros. E.ON a little bit weak, Danone a little bit weak. But yeah, the other gainers there in Europe, Stellantis, LVMH, and Kering, as expected.
So, Rheinmetall being a defence company, has there been any news out? Just trying to think if there's anything.
Maybe the talk of Ukraine, Russia.
Ceasefires.
Yeah.
And peace talks. But I mean, it's only 2.6%, but yeah.
Yeah. Luke Moore correctly stating Lloyds and NatWest eyes on the highs.
That's right, Luke. Lloyds will keep on going. Do we see 75p at some point in the short to near term? Potentially.
Would you have NatWest as a hedge on the other side, or you just like the space?
We have quite a few clients, I think I've said this before, who like the UK banks, who are long UK banks. They like the UK banks. They trade them regularly. NatWest, Barclays, Lloyds as the three rather than HSBC. No, I wouldn't trade NatWest as a hedge. if anything, I'd trade them together. But Barclays has performed well as well. So we had Barclays peak up at 310, if you remember, and then sold off quite quickly. But Lloyd's is a steady eddy, isn't it? It trades within a range, but if it breaks out that range, then it could go higher. So we'll wait and see.
Good.
Boohoo raised to hold at Shore Capital as well. Let's see where they are today. Always a favourite with our clients, Boohoo, trading away.
Boohoo.
20.7p, up 4%.
I heard there was a few boohoos in the Roberts household as the car broke down a couple of nights ago.
The car did break down. Very annoying on the way back from bringing my son back from the sports club.
At least it was on the way back.
Hence, I couldn't do TV yesterday, so Ronnie kindly stepped in. And it is now in the garage.
What, to my benefit, though?
Due to MOT problems, car problems. It is 16 years old.
Go on. I am picturing a nice Jag. 16-year-old Jag, Tom Roberts.
It is a red VW Golf, 16 years old. Been reasonably reliable. It's an old friend, put it that way.
It's actually same as my girlfriend. That was her first car, and it went to the knacker's yard about 6 months ago.
This one may be going to the knacker's yard at some point. I've never been a car man, so...
Sounds like you could be boosting Tesla sales.
No, can't get an electric car because we live on a high street and they can't seem to put in a charger for whatever reason.
What do you mean you live on the high street? You're in a countryside estate.
Literally a high street in a town in the countryside. And they said they can't. I looked at an electric car because Mr. Ward sings vocally about his electric vehicle.
He does.
And no, I don't know what's next. We'll wait and see. Something reliable like Vodafone, I would like.
Oh yeah, as reliable as.
THG, I think you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Did they have an upgrade? Trading just shy of 30p, up 3.1%.
So you will know this stock well. I don't really. It's been controversial to say the least, hasn't it?
It's a well-travelled stock, and I say that humbly. Well-travelled in terms of it was traded a lot by the retail community.
Yeah.
It's had definitely its ups and downs, more downs than ups. And obviously it has quite a colourful CEO as well.
Doesn't mind a press article, does he?
Correct. But yeah, trading 30p. IG clients still quite enjoy trading it. So, it's one for the retail crowd though.
Yeah, caused quite a bit of pain, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
Yep. Good. Right, we're going to go to a quick break. Then we're going to come back and look at Nike. Fast markets coming up. Just before we go to break, producer Phil in my ear. He was on a walk in Scotland, and he sneezed, done his back in.
Oh no, poor chap.
Now you've seen producer Phil has been in your seat. You've seen him. He's a young lad. Why is he putting his back out from a sneeze?
I'm not sure. I can't comment.
It's got to warm up before you go and do these things, don't you?
For a walk.
For a walk in Scotland.
Yeah. Up those hills.
Oh, it must have been a tricky wee hill he was up there.
It must have been a big hill.
Phil dying a death on in my ear here. Right, like and subscribe. That is what Phil is saying in my ear. Give us the thumbs up there, please. Give us the subscription. We're up to 438 subscribers. You lot, it was 395 when I left.
Keep going, keep going.
Keep going. We'll be back in 2 minutes for fast markets. If you want to make a cup of tea, go and do that. If you want to take a look at a couple of our videos on the page, there's one from me in Valencia on Monday. Doesn't show a lot of Valencia, but it shows a bit. It's our matrix of where the S&P 500 could go. And currently with futures at 5372, let's see, is that them topping out? It's a question. We'll see you in a couple of minutes to discuss it. Right, welcome to Fast Markets, the part of the show where you put your ideas and your trades into us, and I might steal them, I might put them on myself, or we can see is there an option strategy to better get your exposure on. But we are going to start today with Boeing, Tom Roberts.
Boeing, believe they've got US earnings today. They have come from really a sort of 7th of April low of 130, trading up to 165 at the moment. Had some news out in the last sort of 24 hours regarding they're agreeing to sell portions of their DAS business, which is their Digital Aviation Solutions business, to Thoma Bravo. All cash deal, 10.55 billion. They're doing this so it sort of to help them double down on its core business and get some cash through the door. Obviously, they've had their turbulent news, pardon the pun, recently. But yeah, one to keep an eye on, watch out on, A, on the results, but B, on the share price from the 7th of April move up, seeing if we can get any higher.
Yeah, it's tricky. I haven't traded this one in a while. I'm always scared of headline risk in Boeing. It hasn't paid to be involved, let's say.
No, it hasn't. But as it is starting to concentrate on its core business, as it's selling off assets, as its war chest is getting bigger, does it then reinvest that back into the business? And can we see some uplift from here?
I'm just looking at the chart to remember where this thing came from, and it is the 400s, isn't it?
Yeah.
God, where did it all go wrong?
I mean, it's come from a long way.
What's
and
yes, saying on it?
It's started to move up a bit since the beginning of April, but so is everything else. Analyst consensus is 19 ratings, 13 buys, 1 sell, 5 holds. It's got an outperform rating on the Smart Score as well.
Goldman Sachs 213 target. J. Powell Morgan 23% upside at 200 rally. Bernstein saying hold. Jefferies got a 220 target.
Barclays,
Citi 210.
Yeah, 210 with Barclays buy rating. Citi as well, as you say.
It's interesting. That's making me think selling puts.
So where would we sell the puts?
I could sell puts. Screen off there, please, gents. Let me just take a quick wee look into the world of Tasty, and let's probably look at the June expiry, I imagine.
Or even August.
So Boeing, let me see how many days. Right, chart up. Let's see about trading this one. How many days have we got until June? We got 58. Okay, let's look at 58. God, jumps out straight away there. $2 for the 130s. I mean, yes, all day long.
Correct.
Well, I mean, why would you not?
Worth keeping an eye on that.
Do you go up to 140 and take in $3.50?
I think the 130 is better value. You have got, as you say, the headline risk on the numbers. You don't know what they're going to say.
It's only a 10 delta, though.
They've come from a long way down. Sorry, a long way from where were they? 420, I think. 430.
Yeah.
165. So what you would sell 130 puts.
Yeah.
$2 it's going to cost you.
I'll go 130. I'll go 135 and I'll try and get $2.50 for them.
Okay.
Yeah. That's almost 2%.
Worth a go.
Yeah, because I mean they're in a bit of a holding pattern just now, aren't they?
They are. Good work, Red. You're at lunch today when they open, so I'm sure I'll be taking your orders.
Will remind me.
I'll send you a message.
Yeah.
I'll send you a message.
Excellent. Right. Yeah. I've away from the numbers has put 737 Max. I think that'll be to the question, where did it all go wrong? You're not kidding. Okay. So Nike. Now, I got very excited about Nike when I was away. Right. because it got down to $53. And I've been waiting for an opportunity like that in that company. That it's the perfect storm, the absolute perfect storm, right? They've had their terrible CEO, they've had a sales slowdown, they've had the product go out of fashion, they've now had $1 billion restructuring costs with Elliott Hill, then they've had Vietnam tariffs, then they've got China tariffs. I mean, it couldn't get any worse.
Along with an interesting advertising campaign and marketing campaign.
That's right, yeah, maybe not the best one.
Correct.
Start off slow. So I put into my chat GPT, what could Nike do? I love it. Chat GPT come back. Yeah, Nike's been rough, underperforming for nearly 3 years, margin slipping, inventory issues, North America soft. I said, what could it do structurally? If I was Elliott Hill and I was going to do a strategy day, what would I want to give in that strategy day to make the stock turn around? So it obviously says product innovation, right? It needs a new Air Max or a Flyknit kind of moment. It needs cultural relevance, making Nike cool again, less Travis Scott, more boundary pushing new artists, TikTok culture leaders, Gen Z designers, revamp the brand.
Modernize it is what it's basically saying. Modernize the brand.
Yeah.
Move the brand forward into the era where we are now. TikTok, influencers, etc. What does that bring, though?
Well, that comes on to another point. It says restructure its brands, potentially selling off Converse.
Okay.
Now, Converse they bought in 2003, I think it was, for 200 million. It now does sales of 2 billion. Yeah. So what could it get? Could it get 3 billion? Right? You take that $3 billion and you do a bit of share buyback, you help that for some of the restructuring charges to make the core brand superb again, the Nike swoosh. I think that
you're losing sales of 2 billion a year by selling off that asset.
Converse.
Still 2 billion a year. You're selling it for what, 1.5 times sales, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. I don't think you could get much more than that because sales have been slowing.
No, but you've got good regular income there on the revenues of 2 billion.
Yeah, margin's not amazing because they only sell for, what's a pair of Converse, like 60 quid or something. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's so much to do for Elliott Hill, and he's the man to do it. The buyback's ongoing. There's lots of options there. And the stock is making higher lows.
Yep.
Have I got that right?
Yep.
Higher lows. Yes, the last 2 days it has been particularly strong. And well, there you see the chart. Oof, the chart is ugly, isn't it? That is from late 2023 when the stock was at 120. And there's that perfect storm taking it from 78 down to 53 at its worst, 52 at its worst, now at 57. I think now is the time.
It's gone from $80 on the 10th of March down to $53.
That was him saying that there was going to be another quarter of bad numbers, another quarter of restructuring.
So if the numbers are worse than predicted next quarter...
I think he's kitchen sinked it.
Do you? Okay.
I think so.
Why aren't we seeing more buyers now then?
Well, Vietnam, China.
But Vietnam are coming to the party. Tariffs won't be as bad as they think.
It's a sentence you've never said before, is it?
No. If you're trading this, how are you trading it, Rich, for our viewers?
Well, that's the tricky one, isn't it? I mean, look, I've already got a position. Don't you worry about that. We have got...
You've got the stock or you've got the option, sorry?
I've got options in the Tasty account. I've got 200 shares I bought yesterday for the first time in my IG account.
So you're long stock and you're long the options by being short puts. What have you got there? Hang on.
I am actually now long 57.5 calls for May. I'm short the 67.5, right? It's not going straight up.
Okay, yep.
I am also short 65 puts for June. I'm short the 67.5 puts for Sep. And then
60s for deck.
And then, well, that's actually part of a separate trade. That is part of this one. The deck trade is selling the 60 puts to buy the 77.5 calls, shorting the 97.5 calls. So, i.e.,
so you got the layers in.
The swoosh.
Yep, the swoosh. You're selling 97.5s.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy to take my money there.
Yeah, 240 days away.
And that was a really nice trade because it cost 6 to get the 77.5s. I received 2.5 for selling the 60s, and then I received 2 times 2. So that was a zero trade.
Net neutral there on that one.
Yeah. But of course, we're still a few dollars under there, so it's certainly at loss at the moment. So yeah, that's Nike. I think I really like the stock at 53, 54. It needs some headlines to get back above 60, I think.
Yep.
And last night it was at 50. It touched 59. So we'll get the all hours. Andrew McKelvey, why not buy JD Sports if they've got a wider range of brands giving downside protection, but will ride any Nike recovery? He's got a very good point that it will ride the Nike recovery. However, I think that JD is the next stage, Andrew. So I think you'll get core Nike really starting to get the turnaround, and they'll expand the multiple, right? And then you'll get the sales come through. JD Sports will be 3 to 6 months after.
A leg on, exactly.
A leg on. But yes, it's a fair point.
FTSE pushing near its highs as we get up to 8:30, 1.4%.
Whoa, take a look back at that.
84.46, and just looking at a few of the London numbers. Where's BP now? Up 5.2%.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's going to help the options account today. I'm short the 420 puts.
Okay.
It's be a shocking trade.
377.5 trading.
So screen up on the update of the FTSE there. It is BP leading the way, taking out Forexpo. Standard chart Forexpo up on the...
Silver production, wasn't it?
Oh, no, that was Fresnillo.
Fresnillo, sorry.
Forexpo on the peace talks.
Yes.
53 pence. I mean, that one was in the 70s, wasn't it? Then Standard Chartered, Glencore up 267 now. Anglo-American, and any new ones? No, not really.
No.
IAG up to 261. WH Smith had a bad day yesterday. I noticed it got below £9. That one's really struggling. I tell you what, I took a picture. Guess how much I was in WH Smith? I'll have to try and find this now. I can see why they're so reliant on this airport business. I can't remember what. Go on, Tom, to fill in for a second while I check through my pictures of myself playing paddle.
Just looking, Wizz Air was up there, Ryanair's up. Airlines looking a little bit stronger, obviously IAG as well.
Here it was. Right, salt and vinegar discos. Right, this is WH Smith. Guess how much this was, people? Salt and vinegar discos grab pack.
£2.50.
And one of those almond like eat bars.
Okay.
Like a Nature Valley kind of thing,
Yep.
right? Guess how much for the two of those?
£6.
Anything else? £5.10. £5 for a bag of crisps and a snack.
But you and I have spoken about this before. WH Smith on the high street,
I still bought it though.
lost and gone. WH Smith in the airports,
Yeah.
it's where they're going to make their money.
£2.60 bottles of water.
Closed market, people have to go there basically.
Yeah.
Do you go to Pret in the airport and pay £3 for water or £2.60 in WH Smith? And everyone seems to still flog to WH Smith.
Yeah. Right, just to summarise for Barry O'Sullivan, just talking about what is the news for the positive wave. The positive wave is Trump confirming what Besant said to an inside group yesterday, a closed door investor group by JP Morgan, that tariffs will not stay as 130, 140.
Unsustainable
Yeah.
levels.
Unsustainable levels. That's coming down. And also that he's not going to sack Powell, right? So Powell stays. China is going to de-escalate, so we can expect positive headlines there. Potentially at the side of the Pope's funeral, Tom thinks. Potentially at the side of the IMF meeting. You've got a few avenues there.
The word there the market's looking for is stability, and he's trying to give a bit more stability to the markets. He's trying to be a bit more sensible. Maybe people have given him a little prod just saying, this is what you need to do.
Definitely
Well,
said to him.
the markets are controlling you, as you said earlier this morning. Try and be sensible, put some stability back in there, let the markets recover, and let's get back on a firm footing.
And he's bought a load of futures.
We can't.
Right, Isar is on the way. Angeline and Isar are going to talk about managing risk during turmoil, like we saw on Monday. But also, I fancy they touch on what about when we come out of that turmoil? What about when VIX is going back down through 25? Right, there is the VIX daily chart from August the 5th. Nice similar pattern there, isn't it? It's a little bit of a fatter bell curve this time, but it is coming back down, and that is almost the lowest that we've seen it now. Well, are we out the woods?
Not yet.
We know where the exit is.
We know where the exit is, but we don't know how long it's going to take to get there.
Yes, I can agree with that.
So will vol still be around in that short to medium term? Yes.
I don't think it's going to 18, but I think it's 22 to 27 rather than 27 to 40.
Support above 20, 20 and a half, with probably a ceiling up at 30, 31.
Yeah, fair. Good stuff. Right, thank you all for joining us. Oh, it's good to be back. It's good to see you lot. Some great comments there this morning. Thank you very much for those. Angeline with Isar, and then Ange and I will bring you... actually, I think Ange and Isar can do the opening.
Keep subscribing, keep liking, keep going.
He's on it. Good stuff. We'll see you in 3 minutes, and the team will be here.
welcome back. It's Issa and myself here on Trading Psychologies.
Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome
Thank you.
back.
It's great being back. I was going to say, you did such a brilliant job that now Rich and I can go on more holidays.
We barely survived. But what I will say is, even though Rich was on holiday, he was in the chat commenting away. So I don't know if he knows how to take a proper break.
He's quite a workaholic. Quite a bit of us are, but we love our job, so that's why we are here.
Nice and easy, right?
Yeah, and really it writes itself when we had the last few weeks.
Right. It feels like the news just doesn't stop, and I think especially some of the comments last night about now Trump being kind of generally supportive of Jay Powell and the
Surprise.
Yeah, the prospect of like cooling back on some of the China tariffs. Like I think you're seeing markets like really whipsaw. I think you saw like not great Tesla earnings, and so like it's a very muddled picture at the moment.
Yeah, and my humble opinion on the whole thing is it's not so much Trump versus JP, it's Trump versus the bond markets.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, there's a very explicit aim from Besant and from the Treasury to try and lower bond yields, while at the same time they're trying to do all this kind of disruptive policy that might introduce uncertainty. And so I think it's definitely a tricky situation. And with so much US debt needing to be rolled over, I think they're very, very sensitive to how the bond market reacts.
So let's talk about navigating these markets, because lots of people, it's kind of easy or relatively easy, shall we say, when you see the turmoil unfold and when to exit, right?
Yeah, and I think I guess it's the kind of market that generates a lot of emotion, I think, as well, right? And so you're right, lots of people maybe want to exit their positions, but also you see kind of drastic changes in the environment that you're in, like minute by minute almost.
Yeah. So fear and greed index. Let's maybe start on that. Or do you want to
sure.
start with something else?
I think we don't have that much time today, but there were three things I wanted to talk about briefly. I wanted to talk about fear, I wanted to talk about hope, and then I wanted to talk about agency. So maybe we'll talk about each of those in turn. So if we start with fear, I think you've got the classic CNN fear greed index. So maybe we can pull that up on the screen.
Yeah, here we are.
I think this is like a very, very commonly referred to tool to kind of measure how much of the market's in that kind of fear mode versus the greed mode. And you can see that we're in just the edge of that extreme fear level. We're at a 25. I think less than 25 is like extreme fear, 25 to 50 is typically fear. And so I wanted to talk about two things, which is number one, why are people scared? And I think that we've spoken about that kind of at ends for the last couple of months, but like I think it's both an uncertain and an ambiguous environment that amplifies a lot of the uncertainty and amplifies a lot of the downward moves. And when you have a situation like that, people's estimate of downside probabilities starts to be skewed. So we have what's called a negative salience bias, which is when we're reading news, for example, we tend to be more our eyes are drawn more to negative news stories than positive news stories, and that kind of continues to amplify emotions and drives a lot of that kind of excess sentiment in both directions, actually, when you have positive news but also when you have negative news.
Producer Phil also chiming in, because I was away the last 2 weeks, but he was saying that at one point it hit 4.
It got to one of the lowest readings ever. And I think with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about how this index is calculated, because I think a lot of people look at this number and they're like, oh wow, emotion is very high. And actually, this is not an emotion-driven index. If it was an emotion-driven index, you would see things in the indicators that go into this index to like things like what is the average sentiment of news stories, or what is the ratio of negative to positive news stories. That's actually not how this index is calculated. There's 7 things you can see there. The first one is how the S&P, if you scroll down, actually, you can see them one at a time. So maybe let's start with
It's a momentum tracker.
Exactly. This is the momentum tracker. It's not a emotion.
Yeah, I was paying attention during my economics class.
Yeah, well, you can
Barely.
see. So of the 7 things, the first one is it trading well below the 125-day moving average? The second thing is what share of stocks in the S&P are trading like relatively near to their 52-week highs. The third is looking at a measure of price breadth. So how much are you seeing individual names drive the price action versus the market as a whole? The fourth one is about the put to call ratio. The fifth one is about the VIX and what implied volatility is on a kind of 50-day moving average. And if you continue scrolling down, one of them is about thinking about kind of stock to bond allocation, and one of them is looking at the spreads on yield. If you have a look, so most of these are either in fear, extreme fear, they're in kind of almost exactly neutral, or actually the yield spreads at the bottom are in extreme greed.
Yeah.
And so, like, actually the picture that you're seeing in the momentum indicators they use are actually not straightforwardly just what is the emotion level that the market is feeling. And I think when people look at an index like this, they often think, oh, wow, that's a gauge of market sentiment. That's actually not at all what this index is looking at. That being said, we are in kind of a heightened emotional state, and I think there is quite a lot of fear going on, but I think fear is not the only dominant emotion at a time like this.
And it's interesting that we pick this apart, because that's kind of like what technicians and technical analysts do. You don't rely on one, but you combine 2, 3 to give you a better view, so that you do not have, and this is
While
probably...
I agree with that,
Yes.
if you actually look at the kind of indicators they use, they are often very, very correlated with each other. So if you're looking at when you're trending below your 125-day moving average, that tends to be moments where the put to call ratio is skewed more towards puts, because you probably just had a correction. If you're looking at breadth, you often see some of these larger moves are associated with poor breadth. And even the kind of bear market rallies you see are often a small number of names driving it. So while I agree with you, like, that's definitely what we should be doing, is looking at different data points. I actually think this is not the best of indices to think about that, because it's using several indicators that are extremely related to each other, and the ones that are less related to each other are actually giving us different signals. So like the yield spread is a materially different indicator to what stock prices are doing, because it's telling you about credit conditions rather than just generalized financial conditions. And you can see that actually the yield spread is giving you not an extreme fear reading. And so I think you have to be really, really careful about using some of these aggregated numbers, because what tends to happen is a lot of these move in tandem with each other. And so the number flips from like extreme greed to extreme fear
Totally.
much more quickly than it would. So it's if you imagine, like, if you've ever managed a project, sometimes you use like a RAG status for a project. If it's going well, it's green. If it's going okay, it's amber, but there may be some risks. And if it's going badly, it's red. And if you have a really bad project manager, then projects rapidly change from green to red without stopping off at orange. I think this is one of those indicators that tends to flip from like green to red pretty easily without spending too much time in the middle.
So this dovetails really neatly to what I was about to put to you. So in the kind of turmoil, unprecedented, that we've seen in the last few weeks, how do we then avoid multicollinearity?
Yeah, like when all the correlations go to one.
Exactly. And
I think there's, honestly, it's very, very hard to manage. It's why you've got assets like gold doing extremely well, even despite the pullback today. Gold has still had an unbelievable run. And I think that's because gold offers a genuinely negative beta versus some of the other assets in your portfolio at times like this.
Let's count my chart so I can bring up gold.
And I think, yeah, if you bring up gold, you can actually see like the run has been unbelievable. I think the other alternative is just to hold cash. That's the kind of Buffett play. I think in both of those situations, like, it's really, oh, you can see if you're going to pull up gold
Here we are.
The gold price, like, really, even taking into account the most recent pullback, I mean, look at that run, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think that's after several years of gold just kind of hovering around the same level. And it's a good example of where, like, when you do have this kind of heightened fear, people are worried about correlations going to one, and gold provides a genuinely different risk profile. I'm not saying necessarily it's the best fundamental play in the world, but it provides a different risk profile. And so then people are looking for just things that are uncorrelated. And yeah, you can see like the stock market's up today, but gold is down. if you look at other commodities, like you can see, for example, silver has been pretty uncorrelated. So it's not got negative beta, but it's kind of got neutral beta. You can see, yeah, exactly. You can see it's basically been flat.
Lots of people like trading silver because it gives that uncorrelated sort of link. And it's also more volatile compared to, obviously, gold's just been a one-way game.
And I think where gold has been kind of on an upward trend, silver has been kind of range bound so far. So I think it'll be interesting to see if it continues to respond in a very different way to what gold is doing. Typically what you have historically seen in silver is it lags gold significantly and then the move is extreme, and it kind of catches up. So we'll see if that happens this time. But I think if that's kind of the fear, I think the second overriding emotion is when you do get positive bits of news, then the hope machine goes into overdrive.
Overdrive, yeah. And then you become almost like over hopeful, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you see a lot of the herding effects that we talk about when there are extreme volatility and extreme sentiment shifts. And so I think you can see we've had a kind of hope-driven movement in the last kind of maybe day and a half.
Yeah.
And like that is quite a significant move actually from some of the lows that we've seen.
I'm trying to manage my hopes as well because, like, for example, I've got this parabolic SAR here. And I am looking for a good bounce. And to me, at the moment, I'm starting to see that in the US 100.
Yeah.
And so it's more about, I find in these times of turmoil, it's more about stripping out the noise and trying to almost have someone, or it's always helpful, like Issar and Luke, and they'll see me walk over to try and debunk your theories.
Yeah.
Because
it's almost the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, how quickly can you debunk a theory?
Yeah, exactly. And so if someone can debunk your trading theory, it means that you possibly might have the wrong perspective, or it's time to re-look. You know, well, if you sail, it's like maybe change of tack time.
And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was agency, and I think it's very related to that, right? So agency is the degree to which you feel in control of how your portfolio is doing and how your positions are doing. And often during moments where market performance is very headline driven, people feel extremely low levels of agency because it feels like, okay, well, Trump is going to say whatever he's going to say.
He's going to change it the next day or the next moment.
You've got like Tesla earnings, like, I don't know, that's kind of always very uncertain. It turns out it was very negative, but the share price has gone up. Like, who knows what's going on? And what you tend to see is actually you have asymmetric agency estimates. So when things are going your way, you assume that you're an amazing trader. And when things are not going your way, you're like, oh, well, market conditions are really bad. And I think that gives you a bit of like false certainty in an environment which is very uncertain, right? And I think you have to internalize that uncertainty. And then I think the second thing is that often people don't think deliberately about the things they do actually have agency over. Like a good example is position size. That's something we have control over.
And putting your stops, tighter stops, in times of turmoil, which we had a huge discussion with some of our clients recently.
Yeah, and like also like trading frequency. So a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about the risk of over trading and what might happen when you get into a mode where you feel like doing nothing is inactive and bad, and so then you want to trade to try and like take advantage of all the opportunities. Well, actually choosing to trade higher frequency might lower your optionality when there are really big moves, and so that can then impact kind of what your returns are over time. And so you actually do have agency over a bunch of different variables, and it's really worth thinking about how can you exercise that agency to drive returns. And then where you don't have agency, try to be less asymmetric about how you think about things.
Yeah.
So when stuff does go your way, like try to like really reconcile the fact that some of that is news driven and a little bit out of your control, so that when stuff does also not go your way, you can like kind of balance that on both sides.
Yeah.
So I think thinking about where do you genuinely have agency, and for the areas that you do have genuine agency, trying to exercise that agency, and where you don't have agency, let's be honest with ourselves. I think trying to manage hope when there is positive news and make sure that you're not overly swept in some of these big market moves upwards, especially during kind of bear markets where some of the rallies can be really extreme. and then trying to manage your fear levels and also understand what the real fear levels in the wider market are, not necessarily being super reliant on something like the fear and greed index.
And timing of trade is also agency, right?
course,
You can control that, trader friends. You can control that, and a lot
like
of
even just setting a limit entry, right, is like
Yeah.
a really good example of trying to have more control over timing.
yeah, and trailing stops. I use trailing stops more when we have high volatility. A lot of the times in the show, you hear myself and Rich talk about how to also look at the options side of things, so you understand that when volatility is working against you or might be working for you, depending on how comfortable you are with volatility. But you see us looking out into the following weeks and looking at that figure just above the white line there to show us, compared to, normal times, how high is that figure, the options figure on this chart here, compared to normal times. And that gives you a good idea of the height of the wave that's coming your way.
Or at least what the market expects, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quick question. We had one earlier on the chat about, how to time your entry. I mean, you can't really time your entry. No one can call a top, no one can call a bottom successfully, right?
I think the thing that's really important is being concrete about what your thesis is and how your entry feeds into that thesis. Like whether that's if you're someone who trades using like technical levels, being very clear about what those technical levels are. I am less of a technical level trader and I'm more of a kind of like medium-term thesis trader. But that being said, that then means that, okay, if I'm looking at a single stock name, I have a price that I think is attractive and I'm expecting to hold for at least a certain amount of time, right? Especially if I'm looking at, for example, my ISA portfolio. So actually what I've done is for a bunch of names that I do find attractive, I've set thresholds and alerts that will trigger for me to have a look at the equity, and then I've got automatic kind of limit orders slightly below that where I think anything below that is a good price. And so trying to use the thesis to lead the timing rather than the timing to lead the thesis is really important.
Yeah, and having that thesis written down prior to the trade is also good at keeping you on
we
track.
talk a lot about trading journals. That's one of the best things you can do to drive higher quality decision making.
Yeah. How much time we got left, guys? We've got just 5 seconds left. They say no time. 5 seconds left. Just in case you're wondering. Producer feels like, I remember that. Issa was so engrossed in the chat, people, that we
nearly missed my slot.
Yeah, we had to send Cam over to walk over to, hey, we know you're like messaging on the chat, but you need to come right now. Great.
Yeah, apologies. This was a few minutes shorter than.
Oh, but lovely to be back with you, and we'll see you on the floor.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, and I hope people are managing the tough market conditions.
Yeah, totally. Hit the like button and the subscribe. Any questions to myself or to Issa, please email us and I'll get it in front of him. Thank you. We've got... Hey, hey, welcome back to All Sessions with myself and Rich and his
And the
brand.
bell.
Yeah, and the bell.
For the second time today. Do we ring the bell on New York? Not sure. Not sure.
I don't know.
We need a countdown because we don't have a clock.
Yeah, we need that clock back.
Right, let's get these prices up then. Ooh, Tesla, 249, Ange.
Whoa.
What are you going to do there?
I'm very bearish Tesla. So,
Oh, are you?
Yeah. And unlike Andy Gavin, and so I kind of think it's going to have a lot of pain still. So I'm going to steer clear for now.
250 trades up 5. So Meta up 3.8. Palantir back towards the 100 level, $98 trading.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Wow, up 3.8% there.
Nike, good to see them, 58.60. That's going to help. So I'm very short calls on the S&P at like the 5,500 level, but then long Nike, Bitcoin, and some underlyings here.
Yeah, well, you would be quite happy, like yesterday. Nike was
Get those
up.
stocks
Look,
back up.
Nike back up again. So your swoosh,
Why are you taking my stocks away?
your swoosh is in
Swoosh.
there. You know,
Swoosh is doing all right.
Yeah.
Swoosh is doing all right. AMD up 3, Broadcom up 3, Apple up 2.3. Oh, I don't know. Is this too much?
risk on people.
The problem is when you've got vol coming down and you've starting to get, you know, those short gamma positions, they have to buy it on the way back up as well. I think all the CTAs are short. So if the CTAs are short, the derivative traders have got to buy futures and people have de-risked, then it is hard to go against.
They're all trying to get back in the game, right?
That's
So
exactly
Delta Airlines also up 2.6% there. Interesting given a lot of the moves in the oil market at the moment, and United as well having a bit of a bump up recently. American.
Disney. What do you think Disney here, Ange? $88. I always think of Disney as sort of 95 to 100.
Not so much. I think back in the day when, you know, their parks and everything was going really well, then yes. But I think right now, Disney is more fair play at around, my humble opinion, around 82. Just because I think it hasn't swept aside its leadership problems, its structural changes, the fact that its Disney Plus still hasn't yet gained on the march against Netflix.
Does Emma not like Disney Plus?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Too adult for that.
Actually, well, believe it or not, it's all about TikTok and YouTube.
Oh no! Oh, there's
Yeah.
a program on Netflix you don't want to watch then. It's all about the kid YouTubers and how the mums drive them. One kid was making $500,000 a month.
Really?
That's like your salary.
Wow.
But yeah, so she's into the YouTube and TikTok and everything.
Well, it's hard to stop them because even if she doesn't have a phone, some other older kid will have a phone,
Right.
and then she'll be kind of like watching and looking at, you know, that screen. So it's really hard.
Well, watch this documentary. It's enlightening.
Netflix, I have, as I told you, I've cancelled my.
Oh, you have?
I have.
Wow.
Because it went from, I had that deal, right, $9.99, and then suddenly became $16.99.
Yeah.
So I have cancelled.
But there's a new series just about to come
Oh,
out.
don't say that. You're just doing that on purpose, aren't you? What?
Great series.
Eli Lilly, up 1.5% there.
Yeah, whoa, that one's, I've really been crap in that one. So I had the 840 to 980 call spread, call ratio, and it got down to 750. So I sold my 840 calls. Well, I sold the structure straight back to 840. So I've really had a bit of a shocker there.
Well, don't worry, because you can still get back in. So Eli Lilly is a fundamental play for me because I think Nova is being beaten down at the moment because it's not been fast at reacting to other entrants into the skinny pen market. But Eli Lilly on the rise there, people. This is a daily chart there because its pill apparently helping diabetes patients lose 7.9% of their weight in the study. And don't forget, this whole GLP-1 diabetes thing is a trend that will not go away because it's also helping people cut down on tobacco. Ex-producer Fred, are you listening to this? Yeah. And all manner of things. So it's like the wonder drug, right?
Yeah.
Reduces heart.
But it's not
issues.
obviously not just for diabetes patients, right? It's everybody's getting involved now.
Exactly. Everyone who is over a certain weight can now ask their doctor to be prescribed.
Asking for a friend. What's that weight? Is it your BMI or is it kilograms?
It's your BMI, and also if they think that you are at a weight that is detrimental to your health.
Okay.
You know? So like in South Africa, for example, there are even outfits that if your doctor won't prescribe it, you can ask for a self-prescription and they'll send it to you in a box marked beauty. Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
they might misaddress mine.
Ford up 1% there.
Yeah. So Ford, a nice move in the TLT there. Treasury bond ETF up 1.4. Yeah. So all the auto companies apparently got together to speak to Trump yesterday about the parts tariffs. So there's we're continuing to see, you know, sort of more coming together, because it's not often that GM and Ford would both go and speak to the government together.
Yeah. Calling out United Health as well, up slightly there because it had that big, did you see that huge drop on Friday?
Oh no, I didn't.
I was off on that day. Thank you very much for that much needed break, Rich.
Yes, how was that?
It was good. It was good. I
Shows a interesting couple of weeks to be away. Thanks.
It wasn't timed that way, but have a look at United Health. Look at that.
Oh, what happened there?
That was because of the surprise earnings miss, and also this is due to the higher medical costs through the Medicare Advantage demand, which far exceeded expectations.
Wow.
There you go.
Right, so yeah, look, Tesla consolidating around that 250 level. We've got a bunch of the Mag 7 up around 3.5 to 4. We got Nike up 3, and yeah, that's about it. Salesforce, yeah, feels very positive. That's on top of the moves yesterday as well. So let's just take a look at how that is leaving us on all the indices globally. We are up 1.5 in the FTSE, up 2.7 in the DAX, helped by SAP. We're 53.88 in the. I want to go against it, but I know better than once Americans start buying, once the CTAs start closing, once the derivatives guys have to cover, what could be 54.15 today?
Possibly.
Another.
I like what you're saying there because you are. It's music to my ears, Rich, because I'm looking at my Tech 100 and whatever you're saying is all aligning with my parabolic SAR here, which is pointing at this parabolic SAR. You see the dots there?
What is that?
I'm trying to filter out. I'm trying to filter out the noise, you see, and the parabolic SAR. The general note, for
What's the second word? Parabolic.
SAR, S-A-R.
SAR.
S-A-R. Yeah,
Okay.
is when the dots at the bottom. It is pointing at a bullish time ahead. If it's on the top, it is pointing towards a bearish time for the charts. And at the moment, if you look at my yellow line there, you know, it's got a very nice sort of, you know, it's coming away from that yellow line where we saw that bounce back 8th of April. And it's still showing confidently the green dots at the bottom. So I'm hoping that, you know, everyone does come back in slightly.
That's a new dot plot for me.
Eric
Not the dot
Jones
plot I'm used to.
saying support and resistance on the chat. Lots of people commenting on the chat, actually. Bigger Beer is saying that he loved that United Health drop. Had some nice puts on that one.
Oh, well done, Bigger BS. Beautiful. PayPal, yeah, Monkey Man, I'm with you. Don't use PayPal. Don't see the point in it. I am Revolut all the way. Yeah, just don't get it. Expanding crypto offerings. There's plenty other places that you can get crypto, not on PayPal, right?
No.
Including IG.
No. Soon to be fixed. Revolut, I'm a big fan because you can send money really easily to overseas accounts, and it calculates everything. It's very clean, tells you exactly how much you are paying. He's put in stock trading now. He's put in crypto trading. He's business accounts. I call him he, sorry, because he's my ex-colleague at Credit Suisse. Well, what is saying Credit Suisse in the background? Cam, are you trying to say something? Looking at a lot of the markets, really, really good to see this kind of bounce given, we had such a few traumatic weeks also. S&P now, what is it? 14% from the high was that from Tuesday's close. Let's see where it is now.
Well, it's still down 14%.
Yeah.
Well, FTSE up on the year and S&P down. Well done, Trump. At last, making the UK great again. Right, gold, we're seeing continuing to sell off. That one has seen its highs. That's it. I am now short. 3,310. I think it drops. That's got another $100 in it there to drop. The oil to gold ratio got out to an incredible point.
So where do you think gold will drop to?
3,200, 3,150, something like that. So, Eric Jones, daughter works at Credit Suisse. Fantastic. Great place. When did I start there? My first day walking into the Credit Suisse building was 24 years ago.
Wow.
The great company that it is.
And did you say you went to South Africa as well with Credit Suisse?
Johannesburg, on the New York Stock Exchange. And then we've got a question, what do you think about Man Group? So Man Group bought GLG, didn't they?
Yeah.
So GLG, wonderful hedge fund back in the... They really got caught out by Lehman because Lehman were their prime broker. So when Lehman went bankrupt, all GLG's positions were frozen. And that's actually what contributed towards causing that big Volkswagen spike when you had too many shares that were short for the amount that were available. So yeah, anyway, GLG, still a fantastic hedge fund, but yeah, I think Man Group bought them. But yeah, give us more of the question there. What is it you're looking about Man Group investing as a stock?
Kifek, I take it from your logo here that you speak Arabic. Man Group's share price, I hope you're going to tell us that you shorted if you traded that recently, because look at that.
Why is that?
Oof. It's just look at the chart.
Yeah, why is it?
It's not
that's
one
just
that
the usual, is it?
It's not one that I normally trade, but yeah,
No.
it's quite a drop there.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
Right, Angeline. What? Yes, we've got.
We've got market measures after this. Our son is going to join us a bit later for natural gas with me. So if you like to find out how to trade natural gas, he comes from an energy background. I like commodities, as you know, so we'll talk a bit about silver and gold as well, and some of the technical levels we're looking at. And just speaking about that, I noticed something whilst Rich was talking, and I was looking at the US 500 or the S&P 500 chart, and you kind of saw me glance away. I wasn't looking at Rich's derriere. I was actually looking at the chart because I have a fib on the right-hand side there. I don't know whether you can see this, but I'm trying to zoom in for you. And of course, the retracement there shows you potential pullbacks, right? And we are seeing a 61.8. If a technician usually has to choose a figure, the most important figure out of that retracement is 61.8. It's like the magic number out of
Somebody
all of
wrote
them.
this on my TikTok the other day, and I just, why?
Because that's kind of where
It's just made up.
the market's looking is at that figure. So if there's a herd mentality going on, everyone's looking for a pullback at around that point.
But it
We
is
are kind of
completely made up.
seeing- Well, if everyone's following it, then it's not
So
made up.
it's self-fulfilling because it's a number, 61.8.
And if everyone's drawing from the same,
Everyone's drawn the same things on their.
yes.
I mean, that's just rubbish.
But when algos and everything are drawn with that basis in mind, then you get. And we know everything about the markets. It's all about trader behavior, right? Another question on the chart there from our friend whose logo is in Arabic. I can't read the Arabic. Cheap enough to buy or more to go down? Talking about Man Group. We will look at that after this. S&P 500 EPS-based projections. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so this was something that we did last week to try and give you the matrix, right? And you've got the potential PE ratios on the left-hand side. You've got the potential earnings across the top, right? Now, this is where we were back in January, the 280, right? That was fantasy land, and that is gone now. So we can completely forget the right-hand side trajectory. That's why we got up to 6160, because of that blue sky PE ratio of 22 times earnings and 22 times 280. So you take the PE ratio, you multiply it by the earnings, and that's where you get the S&P 500 figure there. Now, the reason I've got this back up is because I did a 6-minute video, right, on the potential for where we're sitting, right? Where are we going to finish the year in the S&P 500? What is the correct earnings figure? What's the correct ratio? And what changes exactly what we use? So the reason that I am telling you this is we've got on the YouTube page, if you go to videos, right? So you might be at the home page. If you go to videos, you can scroll down and you see there's me in Valencia there, Ange.
Ah,
There's beautiful background in Valencia. But that's about a 6-minute video. So why am I telling you this just now? Well, we're about to show the bond video again. Chart off there. We're about to, we've had a lot of people asking if they can see Reza and his explanation, beginner's guide to the bond market. So we're going to show that again now. And if you've seen it already, then no need to go away. Have a look at the video there on your YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, all that stuff. But
nice hair, Rich. I have to say, nice hair in the video too.
very much. Monkey Man doesn't appreciate it. It is getting a bit long. I'll give him that. So yeah, there's your either or. So you got the bond interview coming up now, or you can go on and watch that 6-minute video. Please give it a like. Give it a comment what you think the earnings are going to be and what you think the correct PE ratio. Ange, what do you think?
I like it. I like it. I'm looking at those numbers, especially blue sky, because look at the the top of that is 6150, and if you look back at your chart, oh, where is your chart? Bring it up again. Yeah, there we are.
With the hair.
Yeah, with the hair. Well done, zooming in. The current estimate 5852, but it was 6160. So not too far from that blue sky bit. I'm looking at the 4 rate cuts, the assumption of 4 rate cuts.
Yeah, so 21 times. That's where you think. And then what's your what do you think your correct EPS number is? 252, 266 or higher?
I think tariffs will impact growth, so 5292.
Okay, so yeah, 5,300. So that's why a few people in the chat are saying, oh, I just feel like today may be a little bit, you know, you've still got profit warnings to come. You've still got earnings cuts from analysts, like that horrible person in JP Morgan today cutting Vodafone. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But it's, there we go.
Also,
there's the link.
loads of people wanting to know where your beginners options videos are. So whilst you're on that page, go to the home page. On the menu bar, you'll see on videos and also on playlists. If you go to playlists, they want to know where it's all specifically put in a series. So that's playlists, isn't it? If you click on playlists, you'll have it there. Beginner's Guide to Options, the second one.
Brilliant. Yeah. Good. Right, we're going to go to a quick break. The guys are just saying that Dylan's turned up.
He did say he's away in the US this week. So yeah, but Dylan's
we've had a great chat when
surprising us.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, okay, so Reza coming up next, and then Angeline, you are back with.
I'm back with Asan to talk about gold, silver, but most of it will be on how to trade natural gas.
Excellent. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you after the break.
Hey, welcome to Trading Experiences with Asan and myself. Hey, Ash.
How you doing, Ange?
I'm very good indeed. Good to be back.
It is indeed. It was a long 2 weeks.
I know, lots of people said, how did you time it, Ange? How did you, how did you make it so that the markets all went nuts the moment you left, and then when you came back, it's like,
Do you think there's a correlation there?
oh,
Could be.
I did not plan it. I did not plan it. If only the short Ange trade, I'm actually quite small. Speaking of which, I'm so glad we're back and doing the series, because we are going to talk about natural gas.
Yes, we are. As in, just to kind of recap, we spoke about gold quite a lot, and since then, gold's been on an interesting run.
Yeah.
As fear in the market's been going up and down over the last couple of weeks. But before we move on to natural gas, I wanted to talk to you about silver real quick.
Yeah.
Because we've spoken about gold, but what about silver? As in, is that considered a safe haven asset as well, but to what extent compared to gold?
Well, it's slightly different, and I'm glad you asked about that, because let me just backtrack a bit, because gold is very interesting at the moment. Let's have the chart for gold, which I'm adding to my workspace right now. And you can see there on Monday, the previous session, I was looking at key resistance at 3,512, and I said that if we don't break this key resistance, then we're going to bounce back towards that trend line. Can you see the white line there? Yep. Now, this is a trend line, just to be clear. This is not a technical analysis line, which has to really, if you look at where I drew it, has to respect all the wicks. You should not cut across any of the lines. However, this is just to show you that the trend is still your friend. It's still going up. And we are now seeing that this is coming back down. Potentially maybe 3,200, that level is the first port of call. It is, of course, higher than the high seen on the 3rd of April. So for a technical point of view, this is very interesting, because, as you rightly said, with turmoil in the markets, gold is seen as a safe haven, right? So we've had a lot of movement into this space. In fact, just before I left, I think we caught up and I said it's breaking all fundamental and technical rules.
Yeah, and we took our trade that we placed off, but not gonna lie, shortly after that I went long on gold for a bit. Yeah, and then look what the market's moved.
Yeah, and I think maybe even a slight retracement here, then we could potentially be on our way back up again, because you don't fight the trend, right?
Absolutely.
Unless something huge happens. So back to silver. Let's have a look at silver. Trader friends, any of you trading silver? I know there are quite a few of you out there because you message me on the show about silver. It is slightly different. For a start, as you can see on the chart here, this is the daily chart. What is the first thing you can tell me just looking at this chart, Asan? It is way more volatile
Than gold.
Yeah. And if you are a volatility trader, you will like this, because it gives you a lot of entry and exit points. And also you can see that quite recently it is quite interesting in terms of its volume as well. Silver tends to be a store of value, just like gold. And it's seen as a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. But the thing with silver as well is that it has the ability, people who trade gold tend to not like trading silver, because it can surprise you. It can suddenly go against, the trend. So what it does mean, though, is greater short-term profit if you're a vol trader, right? Potentially more short-term profit. What else do we like about silver? If you look at the chart here, it has progressively headed higher since September 2022. We always talk about the power of 3, or looking at different time frames. So let's take a look at the monthly. So tell us what you can see there. Awesome.
Similar situation on a longer time frame.
It is, yeah, similar situation, because we're seeing sort of from March, it is moving upwards. And then if we go down to the weekly view, it is also in that upward trend, right?
Yep.
And that corresponds with the daily.
Now,
except for that move.
Dissimilar to gold. Do you reckon industrial, because silver has a lot more industrial uses than gold does, right? Especially in like the renewable energy sector.
Yeah,
Things
and
like
medical
solar
devices, batteries. Yeah.
Arguably, that slowed down a bit over the last 18 months, as in now, given the geopolitical environment, as compared to what it was, let's say, mid 2022, early 2023. So do you reckon that kind of feeds into the volatility space a bit within silver, to its industrial demand not being uncertain over the last, let's say, 12 months or so?
Yeah, it certainly has, especially with the tariff tantrum taking place. You know, it's one to watch. I know of silver traders who have many legs in. So from experience, what I've seen so far, trader friends, is you might see someone with a very large, relatively large goal position. But quite often when you meet someone who trades silver, they're very, very small positions. Some even have 30 open positions and different time frames. So that gives you an idea of the kind of volatility we're seeing. But certainly the tariff tantrum, you know, the talk about how it's now back to petroleum, not beyond petroleum. So no surprises for what that means for demand for things like photovoltaics, and also things like, you know, batteries. Silver is a key component in those sectors. And if demand falls off or there's any issue or risk of a trading off of demand, it tends to hit the silver market. If you're talking about the options market, now this is slightly different. So I'm going to move the view now to the options side of things. And if you look at the top, you can click commodities on the top right-hand side. Let me know if I'm going a bit too fast for you.
No.
Thank you. I love it when the gallery as well as Ash goes, no, there's a lot of confirmation here. It's good. Trader friends, let me know if this is going a bit too fast. You'll see that we have crude, natural gas, gold, and silver. So this is how we try and get, you know, we talk a lot about this with ISAR as well, and about how we give positive skew and try and get traders to be aware of where you can give yourself positive skew. So if you go to silver, you can go to the weekly expiry 25th of April, which is not too far off, but you can also go to the May, look out a bit further, and you can see just by measuring the two that, you know, we're seeing this 40 mark there, and, you know, it's tipping up slightly. So you can see that, you know, in terms of the options market, we are looking perhaps potentially and more to the upside skew. Andrew McKilvey asked whether, Ange, can we use this to dictate which or to decide which direction? And my answer was like, no, because we'd all be sitting in the Bahamas,
exactly,
drinking mojitos with cigars. But no, unfortunately we can't. But what this can tell you is when you're about to put on your thesis and you like high vol, then you know you're going to try and go in when it's high volatility. If you're someone that likes trading in calmer markets, try and go in when it's a bit calmer. The other thing I would also say is that if you're new to this, you know, pay attention to volatility, because that matters, because you don't want to get hit when, for example, you know, Trump has said something and markets are all over the place, right? You want your thesis to be able to stand up without extra, what we call noise.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
No, that does. Thank you for that. I don't have a lot of experience trading silver, so that was why I asked, and how we've been talking about gold, and I have some experience there. But I could never kind of put my leg in trading silver. That's just one market I never kind of delved into. Unlike natural gas, which...
I love how you're saying natural gas, because normally what happens is if a gold trader meets a silver trader, they go, ooh, volatility. But if a silver trader meets a natural gas trader, they go, ooh, even more volatility.
So...
You must like risk, Ash.
No, but the thing is, so you know how you play poker, right? And then you kind of, you have 5-6 in your hand, and it's post flop, and you're trying to hit a gut shot straight. That's how I traded natural gas. It was a very toxic relationship. I just gave and got nothing in return. But it wasn't the other person, in this case natural gas, it was more me. Because I think two of the biggest lessons I learned was trading natural gas as well, you do want to do your market research before you actually start investing in a particular space, whether commodity or any investment product, and B, always have a plan and have your bearings right just so you can see the plan follow through. So when I started trading natural gas, again, this was, I mentioned in the first episode, my trading journey kind of began during, like, just after COVID, the Ukrainian war, that crisis. And if you remember, April 2022, natural gas prices went through the roof. I think average it was 6.68 USD compared to where is it now? It's around, hovering around mid three, between 3 and 4. And I kind of got into the game a bit late, as in the highs had hit and markets were extremely volatile, and I got burned by natural gas quite a fair bit during that time, because I kind of got exposed to that market only after the highs had hit. And I did not research the market well enough. I did not have a plan. It was more trying to chase highs and bounce off lows. It was very.
Ash's way of saying he used his gut.
There was a lot of gut, and initially, you know when you go to the gym and you have newbie gains, right?
Yeah,
Initially, everything was green, everything was hunky dory. I'm like, yes, you're doing the right thing, even if you're winging it. But
Did you say you go to the gym?
if you go to the gym, right, and if you go to the gym, and if you're new to it, you have newbie gains, as in you gain a lot more muscle quicker, as compared to someone who's experienced. So I started hitting newbie gains when I started trading natural gas, but very quickly everything started going in the red. Whether I was long or whether I was short on the CFDs on natural gas, I just couldn't find my bearings, and it was because A, I did not understand the market well enough for that particular commodity. B, I didn't have a plan. I was just trying to chase. It's like similar example I was giving before. I was trying to chase a flush or go for a gut shot straight, and natural gas is like you say, it's notoriously volatile, right? And why so? The weather has so much to play with the supply and the transportation of natural gas, right? And how often do we get weather predictions right? We can to a certain extent, but things like, it's called the Gulf of America now, or Gulf of Mexico?
Oh yes, the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America, like
Even if you're on a flight, they tell you that we're flying close to, and then they say it now apparently known as Gulf of America.
Yeah. Hurricanes there then tend to impact your supply and ability to kind of withdraw your.
That's right.
Withdraw gas from your deposits, right? So all of that makes the market space a lot more volatile. So there's weather dependency, there's storage limitations because natural gas needs to be stored like underground, and LNG in cryogenic tanks, right? So it's a bit more complex to store natural gas as compared to like pellets of like metals that you would store in warehouses. So there's that. There's supply side factors. Obviously, Russia's a big supplier of natural gas, especially to Europe. And during that time, because the sanctions were coming out and there was just geopolitical tension all around, as in, you and me need heating, right? We all need heating. And demand side elasticity on things like natural gas are quite low. When the price goes up or down, the demand's not going to go down by as much simply because we need it. So all of that kind of plays into the volatility that you have for natural gas. I know this now, after making all the mistakes, after seeing everything go red, where I had to take a step back, stop trading that commodity, and then delve into, all right, how does the market work? What are the complexities that you have within the market? And having a plan, which is one thing that's been my biggest takeaway. Have a plan.
Yeah. Now, this is the key question. I was going to ask you this. Did you write down before the trade, enter at number, exit at number, change of mind if, and plot this down in your chart prior to your trade?
For all of the commodities, yes. Natural gas, shockingly.
Why? It's so volatile.
Because that's it. But I didn't know at the time, right? I learned about the space after making the mistakes because it was a fad at that time. Natural gas prices were ridiculously volatile, and the overall trend was positive. But that's my experience of trading natural gas. Let's bring it back to now, right? As in, how is natural gas performing nowadays? We bring the chart up, and how do the prices for, let's say, the U.S. natural gas futures, how are they performing nowadays compared to, let's say, where it was at all-time highs in mid 2022?
Now, here's the thing with natural gas. I mean, if you talked about 2022, and yes, there was a huge, move upwards there. There was also a lot of noise. Russia invaded Ukraine. I think it was February, right?
That's right.
Right, February of that year. I remember this well because lots of people called me up to say, "What do we do now? Are our children going to get, enlisted into the army?"
Yeah,
It was
an interesting time.
yeah. Although I wasn't shocked because the day before I was sitting on a high stool looking at loads and loads of maps with quite a lot of map geeky friends who are also strategists, and trying to find images of the treads on the tanks that were amassing, and they were winter treads. So it was very clear that they had that small window to invade because they had the right tracks. And as we know, if you lose that window, then game over, because help can come in easier when there's no snow on the ground. Anyway, cut a long story short, there was a huge spike there, you're right, and that has since eased. And we always say to look towards from left to right. Have you heard about this left to right? To see, of course, the most important bit of the chart is the right-hand side, because that's where the most recent price action is. So we saw that, natural gas had this long stretch upward trend from August 2024 all the way up to the high reached beginning of March 2025. But since then, it has been weakening. And don't forget, you need to also strip out, seasonality here, because when it's not winter, it tends to, come back down again. But, it has come from a very, very long uptrend, right? So now progressing down. I have put the parabolic saw. Trader friends, any of you, this is specifically for natural gas, but it duplicates it across all of my charts, if not all of them. So if you know how to just let me know, because I'd like to know. Just put it on one chart, not across the board. But this is just to filter out noise, right? So have you used the parabolic saw before? So it's just a handy tool. I wouldn't say trade it on its own, because it's just like a heads-up tool. And it's also called the stop and reverse. It's a technical analysis indicator, just very simply making it very simple for everyone. The dots indicate the direction of the trend. So if the dots are below, you see the nice green ones, and the price is above that, then we're in an uptrend. If it's above and it's red not being good in this case, and the price is below, then it is in a downtrend. So can you see it's still respecting that,
trend,
right? We're not seeing any breaking out above that. It's still respecting that pretty much, except for those two blips there. But on the daily chart, it is still respecting that. So I go out to the weekly. Have a look there as well. And I tend to put up the volume as well, because that's just very helpful.
Yep.
Somehow the volume has come off. There we are. And, volume, we've talked a lot about this. Now, volume matters a great deal. And in fact, I tend to leave it up on almost every instrument. Just because when you have a rise in volume, it's a pay attention, something's happening. If you see high volume when there's a breakout, that is conviction. If you see a breakout and there's not very high volume, it means this could be a false.
No, I've started doing that as well. More recently, over the last six to 8 months, having my volume indicator just below whatever technical analysis or indicator I have on the chart as well. It's really helpful. Like you say, it needs to move in a direction, but with conviction for it to establish a trend.
Yeah. And for natural gas, I would say that you have to pay attention to fundamentals as well, because clearly the the chart can't tell you everything. The chart can't tell you, for example, if Trump's going to do something later today. It can't tell you if, whether the weather patterns are changing. And so you can take a position on natural gas or UK natural gas. You can also use ETFs, for example, that you can find on our platform. Monkey Man is asking whether you can trade natural gas in an ISA. I don't know, actually.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question, but I will find out for you. We tend to hear a lot of people talk about, right now it's holding at a, let's show you the monthly chart. Right now it's holding near 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around the 5-month low. Yeah?
That's right. I think it's the lowest since the start of the year.
Yeah. What we're also seeing is that we are having mild weather forecasts. Yay, El Nino! Climate change. And what this means is it will reduce, of course, both heating and cooling demand as well. People tend to forget that you also need natural gas if you're kind of
Run your ACs and whatnot. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, across Michigan and many parts of the US that get super hot, my skin was so hot it was starting to, get very, very itchy, like burn territory. No one knew in the US because all of them had their AC on. All of them had their AC on. The other thing is you hear about pipelines. People who trade natural gas talk about pipelines. So make sure you understand maintenance. And when pipelines go down, then this means that gas output will be hit. So that, of course, changes the supply and demand picture. Then you talk about, you often hear people talk about LNG as well and the feed gas levels, right? So this also feeds into the supply and demand picture. And last but not least, before producer Phil comes in with his crook, I'm going to walking stick as well. He's actually a very young fellow. I'm going to show you the last piece, but if not the most important piece of the puzzle, weather.
Weather, yes.
Weather is very important when you trade natural gas. And some people go, which weather websites, which websites are handy? There's one that's called natgasweather.com, that gives daily reports. It gives you some here, but obviously if you pay, you get more granularity, but it does give you a list at the bottom here of what your subscription includes, and it gives you a daily weather forecast, summer outlooks, which is important because remember what we talked about?
Yep.
And winter outlooks as well, because if we have a very mild winter, no surprises for what that will do to natural gas, and they've got lots of handy charts. There's another one called Hyper Accurate. I don't know whether it's hyper accurate. You have to pay for this one, but it's called Climate Vision. So pay attention to weather when it comes to natural gas, because that really does make a difference. And as we know, when weather changes, it can change on the sixpence. Those of you that sail, and if you know what to look out for, then it gives you a better handle on trading something like natural gas.
No, thank you for that. As in these last ones, I found the websites way too late in the process.
Well, Climate Vision and Nat Gas Weather. There you go.
Nat gas weather, yeah. That's a good one.
All right. Any questions? And of course, hit the subscribe button. We will be clipping these videos up with Ash and putting them on the site soon. So do make sure that you keep us enlightened with whatever you want us to talk about in the next session, because we are going to cover that for you. Ash, have you subscribed to the channel?
Yes, I have.
A new one.
I did that before you had me on.
But there's a new one. We've gone to the new site now.
Yes, that as well, yeah.
Amazing stuff. Well done. We're going to have an applause for Ash there. Right. Thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow. Happy trading. Make sure whatever you're trading, you have positive skew, and make sure you have your risk management in place.